What's going on, guys? Thanks for watching. Keep calm and game on. Just giving you an update on the Lectric XP 2.0. Don't got the battery plugged in right now, but I just want to give you some of my thoughts because I have been playing with this bike for about, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks. Took a while to get here, but that's kind of typical for e-bikes because the demand is pretty high nowadays. Even in the winter, a lot of people are buying them just because, you know, summer's coming eventually. And even in the winter, I've been riding this thing around. So just a few thoughts real quick. I got about 48 miles total on this bad boy. Had some issues at first with the battery because this is a folding e-bike. So you have to unfold it to put the battery in this down tube. It wasn't lining up with the prongs inside this. So I had to contact Lectric. They sent me a little kind of rubber wedge thing that I put on the bottom of the battery that kind of lifts it up. That still didn't completely fix the problem, so I had to bend down the prongs a little, which they said is perfectly fine. It doesn't void the warranty. But after that, it worked fine. But I've been riding this bad boy around, really liking it so far. It's got the 20x3 fat tires, which are pretty nice. Like, I'm used to riding normal bikes, like over there, with the, the really thin tires. And these things are just, they feel so much more stable. It is a little bit, easier to ride those if you're in manual. Without a motor, because they're just a lighter frame and, less resistance on the road with those thin tires. But these things, like, I can be riding kind of on some slick pavement with the snow and stuff. I've even ridden through some snow, and it just feels really stable. Haven't messed too much around with the suspension here. I think I might have the suspension locked because I think that's how it came in the box. So I'm probably going to, on my next ride, unlock the suspension to see if it's a little bit of a smoother ride. But even with the suspension locked, it feels really good. So far, I've been liking it. Like, I haven't even taken off the shrink wrap part on the speeds here. But it seems to shift fine. I did have to do a little bit of an adjustment with the brakes because right out of the box, the disc was rubbing on the brake pads in there. So I just kind of had to loosen some of these screws. Let me show you here. They show you on the website how to do it, and there's numerous YouTube videos, but I had to kind of loosen this screw here. That kind of adjusts it. So I was able to kind of fix it with that, but then when I loosened this, it made this go down way too far, like it was almost touching. So I had to kind of fiddle with that because I called the Lectric people, and they said, like, a good rule of thumb is to have like enough of your thumb there. Like, if it's more than that, like a thumb width, then it's too far. So I had to kind of adjust that. You can also kind of adjust this screw here and pull this down to kind of loosen the slack so it doesn't go down as far. I didn't have to do that. I just kind of messed with these screws here, these bolts, and just kind of had to adjust it manually, so it was kind of more in the center and this wasn't rubbing. But eventually I got it worked out. Doesn't seem to rub now. Had to do the same thing on the back tire, kind of mess with that bolt on the inside, and then had to kind of just move the brake this way by loosening these screws here. But that seemed to solve the problem. I'll probably have to adjust it every so often, but that's just kind of typical with bikes. I've ridden it a little bit in the rain, seemed to handle well. It wasn't like pouring down rain, it was more like a sprinkle. Because when I first got it, it was a little bit rainy. There was snow all over the road, and I didn't want to wait till it cleared up because this is Idaho, and sometimes you get a lot of snow. But so far, like, it's been pretty good. Like I said, I've only got 48 miles on it. I will recommend buying some good warm gloves because when you're cruising around on this thing in like 30-degree weather, your hands are gonna get cold. Like, originally I had really thin gloves. I would not recommend it. I got some beefier gloves. Still, when you're riding around in 30-degree weather, it's gonna feel cold. So I'm even looking into getting some more insulated gloves because that is something you will notice when you ride these e-bikes at like high speeds, is your hands are gonna get really cold just because the wind is hitting those hands. But if you wear, warm clothes, it's not gonna be as big of a deal, but your hands are definitely gonna feel it. So get some good winter gloves if you plan on riding this in cold weather. But with that being said, even in like 30-degree, 40-degree weather, I was getting like pretty decent range on a single charge. Like, I went 12 miles one way, 12 miles back, and I still had juice left over. I probably could have got, like, I want to say maybe close to 30 total. And like, both ways I was doing probably about 15 to 18, sometimes the max speed at 20 with pedal assist 4. And I was able to make it when I got toward the end of my destination, toward my home. I was, only able to go a top speed of the throttle at about 15 miles an hour. But I wasn't really doing throttle. I was just doing pedal assist. I would do throttle every so often, like on intersections and stuff, just to kind of get through it and not have to worry about, cars turning and all that. That's mainly when I use the throttle only, is when I'm going through an intersection, just so I can kind of get out of people's way faster. But with that being said, it handles really well. I pumped up the tires originally, and I pumped them up, when I'm using the hand pump. On a normal bike, I do about maybe 15 up and downs, 15 pumps, and it's pretty, so I did the same thing on this, and I thought, that's enough, because it felt, pretty full. But then I looked on the tire and it said, the PSI is, a lot higher. Then I got a PSI thing where you can measure the, air in the tire, and it was just too low. So after I filled that up a lot more, it was a much smoother ride. I got better range out of it. It's still not to the max capacity, but I just didn't realize that, a bigger tire is going to mean more air. Even if I squeeze it now, it feels full, but I can still fill it up a lot more. But I think this is pretty much a good pressure. You kind of have to play with it. Lower pressure is going to maybe feel a little bit smoother, but you're going to get less range. The spokes all seem tight when I got it. Didn't really have to mess with those. I've had to unfold it pretty much every time I ride it, because I don't keep the battery in the down tube, because I keep this part of the bike, the actual bike, in my garage, and it gets pretty cold even in my garage, so I didn't want to leave the battery in here. I take that out and charge it inside. I usually give it about an hour just to sit after a long ride, because like I said, it does get cold here in Idaho, and I don't really want to plug it in directly after I come out of 30-degree weather. So I let it sit in my house for about an hour, and then I plug it in, and then let that charge for 5 to 6 hours. I even let it overcharge, charge overnight sometimes, and it wasn't a big deal. You're not supposed to leave it in for, 10, 20 hours, but it wasn't a big deal when I charged it overnight. Haven't tried out the light yet. I need to read the manual to figure out how to do that. I should probably test that out, because if it doesn't work, I need to call Lectric and they'll ship me a replacement or something, but I should probably see if that works. I do have a third-party light on here, just because from what I've heard, this light isn't the brightest. This one I think is maybe 2,000 milliamps or something, 2,000 lumens, not milliamps, but lumens. And I also got a brake light back here, both of which are chargeable. I don't really remember the brand, but I do recommend, getting some extra lights if you do plan on riding it at night. This brake light, it gets the job. Well, actually, I haven't really tried out the light, so I'm not really sure how bright this is. I didn't really want to use the lights on the bike per se, because I was riding 24 miles, and I wanted to get as much juice out of the battery as I could. With that being said, from what I've heard, the lights don't really take that much juice from the battery, so I'll have to, take that out for a demonstration myself and put that to the test. But, I just got some third-party lights, and they seem to work. But like I said, I got about 48 miles. So far, I'm liking it. Haven't run into any issues, other than the fact that, like I said, the battery did not fit correctly when I first got it. But I haven't had any issues since then. And I called Lectric, and they were really helpful about it, walked me through the process, putting on the strip. And it did take 2 weeks to get that little piece of rubber. I kind of wish they just told me the diameters of the rubber, so I could have bought it from Home Depot and ridden it a lot faster. But if worse comes to worse, you can bend those down just slightly, and it's not a super complicated fix. They walked me through it. But yeah, other than the brakes being a little bit off when I first got it, and the battery issue, this thing has been pretty freaking fun. If you're looking for an e-bike around $1,000, don't want to break the bank, I recommend it so far. I don't have thousands of miles on it yet. I do plan on putting a lot more miles on it, but for about under 50 miles so far, it's handled pretty well. I'll keep you updated. This is going to be a long video series of my thoughts, my issues that come up with this bike, because I did buy this with my own money, and $1,000, isn't it's kind of on the lower end for e-bikes, but $1,000 is still quite a bit of money. I had to work a lot of overtime to save up to get this bike, but I think in the long run, with the money I save from using it with gas and stuff, and just the exercise I get, is gonna be worth it. I think it's a good investment. So yeah, shout out to Lectric for all the help with the issues. I was kind of disappointed when I got it out of the box and it didn't fit. I'm like, yo, I just spent $1,000 on this thing. I expect it to work. And I was pretty upset when I called the guy, but he was really nice about it. And, he said he understand. And, he helped walk me through it and sent me that piece. So, shout out to Lectric for doing that. you know, it's their job, it's customer service. That's kind of what you get when you pay for this bike. You get that customer service, you know, you're able to call up. And with that being said, like, the phone rang a couple times when they answered. I've heard with some other electric bike companies that, you know, they can call, and nobody's going to answer the phone. They send emails and nobody picks up. But with these guys, they're really good about getting back to their customers. So at least they were with me. I can't speak to everybody. Maybe some people have had longer wait times, but they got back to me pretty quickly. Haven't had any issues with any of the cables coming loose or anything. But again, it's early on in my purchase process. I haven't got super, you know, a crazy amount of miles on there yet. But so far, I am really liking the Lectric XP 2.0. I will keep you updated. If you want to stay updated, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to stay up to date, and I will let you know. With that being said, I'm going to let you go. I also am getting another e-bike from a different company. They're sending it to me for a review. That one I didn't buy. This one I did buy, so I'm going to give, you know, my honest opinion on that as well. But look forward to that in the coming weeks. It should be here in the next few days. So, yeah, stay tuned. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. Until then, my name is Adam, and remember, keep calm and game on. Toodles!